Hello there, thank you so much for joining me today, I really appreciate it. We're going to get straight into the video today. We're going to look at different ways in which you can use vellum on your crafting projects, primarily for making your cards. Technique number 1, embossing. I tend to stay away from 3D folders when I'm embossing vellum for the simple reason that if you apply too much pressure or the embossed pattern is too deep, it can cause the vellum to crack. So I'm just going to use a narrow 2D folder and just put it through without too much pressure on my Gink K Intri-Cut embossing machine. I love this folder, it gives a really nice effect. It's not too thick, it hasn't cracked the vellum, and I just think it looks absolutely beautiful. In my opinion, one of the most difficult things to do with vellum is to stick it down onto your projects, because no matter what sticky medium you use, it will show through. So I thought what I would do is try this really wide double-sided sticky tape from scrapbook.com. I've never used it before, this is the first time I've used it, so I'm just going to see how it works. Sticking this piece of vellum onto a piece of card. Now that looks really pretty. This technique works best on light coloured card. I think on dark coloured card you probably will be able to see a little bit of the adhesive, but as it is I just think it looks really nice. And of course once it's all on you can trim it down to whichever size you need for your card or whatever other project that you're making. Another thing you can do with vellum is stamp on it, provided you use the right ink. Dye inks work by soaking into the paper or whatever you're using, but it can't work like that on vellum because vellum's a kind of plastic and it's just going to sit on the top. So an ink you can use is a solvent ink. I'm going to use Stazon for this project. It's really good, it just takes a few seconds to dry and it doesn't smudge. I will show you a technique later on where you can use a normal dye ink. When you're using Stazon, make sure that you keep the little inside cover, because that helps to keep the pad moist and it will just dry out otherwise. You can also die cut with vellum. It does die cut very nicely, but after I've done this I will show you what happens if you use a substandard or a cheap intricate die compared to a really decent one. This is a fairly cheap die I got. It was either from Temu or AliExpress. I mean it works fine on thin cardstock, but it didn't cut through properly on the vellum. I had to put it through quite a few times and it ended up tearing. This one on the other hand was a really good one. It's excellent and it cut through really well. I mean look at that. That's just absolutely gorgeous. That would look nice on some dark cardstock. It's just beautiful. The only problem would be sticking it down, but you can stick little bits of glue behind the vellum pieces and hope it doesn't squeeze out. Or you could cut it out from double-sided sticky sheets to see if that would work. It's up to you. I know you can foil on vellum because Jennifer McGuire did a video about that, which I'll link to in the description. It's really good. I just tried to use double-sided sticky tape and the Deco foil transfer gel duo. With the Deco foil transfer gel it does work, but it really wrinkled the paper, so it was not really any good for this technique. But I left it in because I know foiling on vellum is possible, and as I said I will leave a link to that excellent video so you can have a go yourself. You can also heat emboss on vellum. I've tried both the thick and the thin vellum, and they both heat emboss really nicely, as long as you don't leave your heat tool on it for too long, because as you'll see when I do this, that there is a little bubbling occurring because I left it in one place for too long. But as long as you're careful, then you can get some really nice effects using heat embossing. That's the place where I left on the heat tool just a little bit too long. But apart from that, it has turned out really nicely. I'm going to show you one way in which you can colour your vellum. This works particularly well after it's been heat embossed, and just make sure that you colour from the back. I am going to be using alcohol inks because those are the best for this technique, and you end up with a really pretty effect at the end. Once you've finished, turn the page over to see your wonderful masterpiece. Isn't that absolutely gorgeous? It's one of my favourite colouring techniques, this. Just looks so beautiful on vellum. As I said before, there is a way to use dye inks on vellum. So what you have to do basically is just stamp onto the vellum using whatever colour ink you like, and it will stay wet so you have a chance to heat emboss it, and that way you can have your heat embossing in whatever colour you like. It's a really good technique. I've used this a few times. Do make sure that you use clear embossing powder though, or the colour of your stamp will not show through. That's all I have now for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please don't forget to subscribe and comment. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye now.